I will show you how to mass import the data into a match object in Salesforce. As an example, we'll import data into the client visitor match object. So normally we will go into the match object and then click on new to create a new match. So the information that we need is the visitor, client friend, and these will be the lookup relationship with the contact object. When importing data into Salesforce, in order for it to recognize that this is a lookup relationship to the contact object, what we need to do is importing the Salesforce ID instead of the name of the visitor and client friend. In order to get the Salesforce ID, we need to run a report, and now I'll show you how to do that. So all we need to do is just click on report and then new report. Click on contact and accounts and create the report. So this is a drag and drop menu preview for the report. First of all, we will remove all the columns. And then we will find the contact ID in Salesforce and drag it into the preview. And we also need the first name and last name of the contact. And then I would choose to have own contact display. Once the report has been done, we click on Run Report. This will show all the contacts currently in the organization, their first name, last name, and the contact ID. And in order to export this, we would use Export Details, and we choose the Excel format to export it. This is how the report will look like after we have exported it. So what we need to do is we will look up the information of first name and last name, and then take the contact ID and replace the first name and last name in the file that we need to upload with the contact ID. And Excel has a great function for us to do that, which is VLOOKUP. So we go into the file that we need to upload. So as you can see, we have the last name and first name of the client friend, and also we have the visitor name. So what we need to do is we will replace this with a Salesforce ID. So first, for client friend name, we would create a new column, call it name, and then concatenate the first name and last name together. And I would use the concatenate function in Excel. We have, and then we can drag it down, and then we would create another column and call it client Salesforce ID, and this will be a VLOOKUP function to the report that we just created. And now going back to the report, because the VLOOKUP function only look up the column on the left of the table, so what we need to do is we need to create a new column here and call it name, and I would do another concatenation of first name space last name, and then drag it down. So with VLOOKUP, it will look up all the name in this column, and we want to return the contact ID. So let's go ahead and come back to the file. And now we want to do the VLOOKUP function. We will look up the value, the name of the client, and then we choose the table array that we want to look up, which is this table. Notice that the table has already been anchored for us, and then we do a comma, and then the column index that we want to return, which is the contact ID. In this case is the column number 2, and then we want exact match, so we would put in false. And notice that it returned the client Salesforce ID, and to double check that, we will see Bobcat with this Salesforce ID, and it matched with this Salesforce ID right here. So now we come back to the match file, to the file we want to upload, and drag it down. And that's for the client Salesforce ID. And now we come to the visitor column, and then create another column next to it, and I will call visitor Salesforce ID, and I would do the same VLOOKUP function, except this time I will look up the visitor name instead of the client friend name, and I'll come back to the table, do this, and return second column and false. And now I would drag it down, and then we double check again to see if we have the correct Salesforce ID, and it's correct. So now this Excel file is ready to be imported into Salesforce, and the only thing we need to do is to save this file as a CSV file. I'll call it match to upload. Save. Yes. Now we come back to Salesforce, and what we'll do is we'll use a data import wizard. So click on setup and import data import wizard, and click on launch wizard. And the object we want to import data into is a custom object, client visitor match, and we want to add new record into the system. So in here I would just leave this none and none, and the visitor match lookup field, because we use Salesforce ID for this, we choose Salesforce ID for both the visitor and client friend match, and it's asked for a CSV file, so I choose file and bring up the CSV file that we have, and then I click on next. After we done loading, this is the field mapping screen that we can map the CSV file header with the Salesforce object. So for example, we map the client Salesforce ID with the client friend match. So notice that we upload the Salesforce ID instead of the name of the client friend, because this way Salesforce will recognize that this is a lookup of another object in Salesforce, and will find that contact record and link it to the client friend matched. And we would do the same for our visitor Salesforce ID. We'll map this to visitor, so Salesforce will know that this is a lookup relationship to another contact. And notice that the match date has been matched for us. So we go ahead and click on next. And this is a summary of what we are about to import into Salesforce. And once it's done, we click on start importing, and this message appear saying that we have done importing. And now we go to the client visitor match, and then we notice and display all match, and notice that we have two new records, which is match ID 5 and 6. And you click on it, it will show that these are the new client, friend, and visitor match that we have. So that is the tutorial for importing the client visitor match into Salesforce.